one of the characters, and as you proceed through the story of that specific character, you sort of understand that all as these sort of meta characters, so to speak, because they are really like all the elements of a story. And once it takes you to, let me see, I could probably go straight there rather than go through the whole thing. Once you've sort of gone through the whole cycle of looking at characters, you can actually become one of them. By answering a questionnaire that will assign you, according to your personality, one of the characters. Let me see. How could I get to that? Oh yeah, there it is. So through the various different questions that are being asked, the computer will determine what the game will determine what character you're closest to. And then you can eventually, at the end, participate further into the project by engaging in a discussion with other people who've been assigned the same character to try and define the character. And the idea being that as the conversations develop, the script of the next phase of the story gets to be written.
Okay, that's pretty good. Tell me what is the whole, tell me again, like, what is the concept of AdaWeb? What does the whole site try to do?
What AdaWeb was trying to do, well, two things actually, from the get-go. One was to produce projects with contemporary artists, and two was to display projects that were not produced by AdaWeb, but by artists themselves, because as the web developed, obviously a growing number of artists started using the web as their primary medium. So it was an interesting way to sort of contextualize the two types of approach to this medium. So I would call it an art site, but interestingly enough, when we started, we were trying to sort of avoid the direct reference to art, because we sort of thought it was more interesting to sort of think of it as a different type of research or a different type of approach that didn't specifically need to be assigned the word art to it. Hence the lack of reference to art in the title or in the name of the site. And I think that, yeah, the other thing is it was more about creating experience online than delivering information, or I mean, it was a way to, it was planned to be a way to use the web as a place where you could sort of interact with stories more than just, you know, get information or buy a plane ticket or you know, get cinema information or whatever. I'm trying to think how to sort of phrase it better.
What is AdaWeb? Can you move close to the computer again, please?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What does AdaWeb mean? Where did that mean?
Well, we tried to think about a way to avoid the word art, and what came to our mind was the character of Ada Byron. Ada Byron was a poet and a scientist in the 19th century. She died in 1851, if I remember properly, and in the middle of her life, she worked with a mathematician called Charles Babbage, and Charles Babbage devised this machine called the difference engine, which assumes to be the ancestor of the computer. And in the meantime, Ada Byron devised a mean to operate this difference engine, and hence she's credited to having invented the concept of software or operating system, but the idea of like, software. And being that scientist, she was also a poet and a musician, and was very, very involved with the cultural life of her time. So she was this kind of conflation of science and art, or technology and art, and we thought it was an interesting background for what we were trying to do. So we ended up calling the site AdaWeb for that reason.
Okay. Anything else you want to say about AdaWeb? Started it? Or?
Who started it?
Well, you and John started it? Like,
yes.
How did that come about?
Well, actually, I've known John Bofwick for a really long time, and he invited me to see the web. I had never seen it before. That was in September of '94, and we sat at his computer and looked at this new thing that was pretty extraordinary. And I had been involved with a digital project before that in 1991, which is a dial-up electronic kiosk made for artists. It was like at the same time that Echo was launched and the Weil was launched, and all these different communities were going on. But I got frustrated because it was only text-based, and all of a sudden there were images, so it became like a really interesting thing to explore. And so John said to me, well, I want to do something with artists, and would you be interested? And I said, of course. I mean, that seems to be completely ready now for trying that, and that's basically how it started. So it's stemmed from a discussion, a very loose-ended discussion we had in his house in September of 1994. And then we decided to get going, and by February, actually by December, we had already started working on a prototype, and then by February we had a beta version, so to speak, and we launched the site in May, with the first project being a project with Jenny Holzer called Please Change Beliefs, which was pretty interesting because it started as something that was really an adaptation to the web of an existing concept. But then as Jenny Holzer got more and more acquainted with the medium, she started changing the concept and adapting it more to, reflecting more onto what she understood this medium to be. So the Please Change Belief project, which actually I could show you very quickly, consisted of, well, it was interesting because it started as the way it was functioning is that there were these truisms, which are these sort of aphorisms that she's been using in her work for a very long time, and she contacted a number of other websites and said to them, would you mind inserting one of these truisms in your content wherever you want? And I guess, oh yeah. So one of these truisms, and so people would have like in their sites a truism like anchored anywhere, and that would be a link back to the project. So the first idea that she had in mind is that she wanted it to be completely anonymous. People were not supposed to know it was art. People were not supposed to know who did it. They just sort of fell into this project without having any information about it. And there was this push technology, so to speak, that changed the text on the screen without you doing anything. And then there was this part, which is the change part,